wish I could have picked my theme music. I might have come up with another theme song or something, but that was pretty good. It's so good to see many of you. It's been 21 years since I last addressed this group. I was your Democratic nominee for what was then Georgia's 9th Congressional District, and went on to become the first Democrat to lose that district since in the 1870s, I believe. But that was the wave that washed over everything. I tell people that I left politics because of illness. The voters got sick of me. But, and I want to tell you, I want you to find hope, because I certainly found hope. Some of the best things in my life happened because I lost that congressional race. And I can directly point. You think, well, you never know. You know, I've got 3 children that literally I would not have had I won that congressional race. And people say, oh, you don't know that. You might have met this young lady and, you know, maybe it's the same babies, just would have been born different times. No, I went to the Republic of Kazakhstan to become a father. And those 3 children, I had to be there at a certain time and place to get them. So good things can happen out of bad times. And good change can happen out of bad times. When I left politics, we had just had a great struggle in the Georgia House of Representatives, where I pushed and cajoled and hoodwinked a man named Dubose Porter to challenge the Speaker of the House. We had a lot of really good ideas. We had things that the public really demanded, but that were not happening. And lo and behold, even though we were not successful in that speaker's race, every plank of our platform was adopted by our own leadership. And because the numbers were changing, our little group of 25 rebellious Democrats, they couldn't punish us like the old days because the Republicans were coming on. They had about 60, 70 votes in the House at that time. So we made a difference. One other thing I'll say before introducing this wonderful candidate from Ringgold, Georgia originally, is that an observation. We have been defeated over the years because wedge issues have been created to divide us as people, not just as Democrats, but as citizens. Wedge issues have been used that now even the Russians have figured out a way to drive them to certain people's emails based on their email preferences. What will motivate that person, they're going to send that story to. And then the gall of it all is to then call the legitimate news sources fake news. It's almost like reading Orwell again for the first time in high school. I will tell you that we have fine candidates here. And I would like to ask both of them to keep in mind that we are all in the same family. And really take it a step beyond. Everybody in this state is, in a sense, in the family. The state of Georgia. We have squabbles in families. Yeah. We have squabbles in Democrat families. They have squabbles in the Republican family. And we certainly have squabbles in the state family. And those are generally resolved in the House of Representatives and the Senate. And that's the way it was meant to be. I got to introduce Bill Clinton to Atlanta. I got to be the one who introduced him on his first trip. It was an outdoor meeting near the old Omni Hotel. We went inside and did another talk, and the stage collapsed with all of us on it. nevertheless, that was one of my high points of politics. I also had the honor, more recently, of introducing former President Jimmy Carter and his wife Rosalind at an event for their grandson, Jason. But tonight I feel like I have the greatest honor of all. I went to high school with a guy named Keith Godfrey. We were friends. We were in the same class. And you know how you just kind of keep up with people after you leave high school, especially in a small town. I heard Keith got married. I heard he got married to a young woman who already had a child. And so I kind of kept up. Well, that's nice. Keith was a good guy. He'll be a good dad. And later I understood they had a son together. And just kind of kept up. And then I started hearing about this kid named Stacey Godfrey, that she was quite a student and quite an impressive student. My sister spent her whole career as an educator. I actually have 5 sisters. So when I say sister, I'm talking just about the one of them at this time. And she even spoke of my friend Keith's daughter by adoption, a blessing that I learned in triplicate later in my life. What a blessing that can be. And the more and more I heard about this young lady, the more excited I got about her and what she was doing. I heard she was going to law school. I heard she was going to law school at my alma mater, Athens, Georgia. I got very excited then when I heard she was running for the state legislature. And of course, a lot of these things now she's doing that were the things that I had done. And you know, I didn't go in with the same frame of mind that I came out of the legislature with. And many of my attitudes going in were naive and textbook. This is the way you're supposed to be when you're in politics. It was a changing experience. And the thing I felt, because I'd gotten to know Stacey by then, was that she's going in with the perspective like I came out with. She's not going in this naive person that's just enjoying all of this fanfare and representing people and showing up at dinners and speaking. She's actually going in with an agenda to help people that she relates to. I was shocked and jealous when I heard that she was endowed a scholarship at our alma mater for students who were the first people in their families to go to college. And it was an impressive amount of an endowment. And so I first had to figure out where Stacey to get that kind of money. Well, as it turned out, she worked in a law firm that tried to get the government to investigate some Medicare fraud. The government wouldn't do it, so her small law firm took it on and won a $330-something million verdict.
Awesome.
For the government. And I'm sure part of that went to the University of Georgia. I am so impressed with this young lady. I wanted to step out of my non-political life for just a moment when I was given this opportunity to introduce her. And I'm taking too much time from her at this point. So I'd like to present to you Ringgold, Georgia's own Stacey Godfrey Evans.
Thank you so much. So great to be here and to look out and see all these Democrats up here in Dalton, Georgia. What do you think the Republicans would say if they saw us? Think they'd be surprised? Probably, but I'm not, and I know that you're not either. Thank you for all that you do. We always knew it was going to be hard to organize up here, as I know from experience with you, but you're doing it and you're doing it well. Adam, Dan, it's amazing what you've done. And Adam, where you went, 1,000 is a lot. 1,000 is a lot. We got to keep going, and that's how we're going to turn this whole state blue. Thank you, McCracken Poston, for such a kind introduction. Representative Poston was my representative growing up and was my very first Democratic hero. And so it's such an honor for me to have you introduce me today and share the stage with you. And I also just want to thank you for all the wonderful things that you still do for our hometown. We are lucky to have you in Ringgold, Georgia. Thank you so much. I have to say hi. I see a couple of teachers in the room. Thank you for keeping me on the straight and narrow growing up. Some of my childhood, some of my best friends from childhood and college, moms and dads are here. It's so great to see you. Thank you for being here. And I'm glad to have brought a piece of my new home in Cobb County with me and have my chairman, Mr. Owens, here. He's done such amazing work in Cobb County that the Republicans had to go out and create a Turn Cobb Red organization, which I never thought you would see an organization like that in Cobb County. It's incredible, and that's directly related to him. So it really is always so great to be up here, and that's just the beauty of going home, right? There's no place like home. And driving up here, you always get a little bit of time for reflection. I was thinking about having grown up here and being raised here and all the things that I've been able to do in my life, and it always comes back to the mountains. The mountains made me who I am. They're such a part of me, and they're a big part of why I'm running for governor. Embedded in those mountains, and so now embedded in me, as I know it's embedded in you all, is a fierce understanding of the need for us to look out for each other and to help each other, because that's just how we do it up here. And I'm also reminded that the mountains give us a little bit of stubbornness sometimes, right? And a little bit of a fight, which I think comes in handy when you're trying to turn a state like Georgia blue. So it's just really good to be up here. Now, I don't need to tell anybody in this room that Georgians are suffering. The newspapers show us plenty of stories of rural Georgia falling behind, and we see it with our own eyes. We don't even need to read it in the paper, because we see it in our neighbors' eyes, and we see it all over our streets and in our schools. Hospitals are shutting down. While you can easily hook up to broadband in any coffee shop in downtown Atlanta, Georgia, that's not so true for the houses and schools that are hours away from the varsity. Rural Georgia is suffering. And while Metro Atlanta has services that a lot of us living in rural Georgia can only dream of, Metro Atlanta suffers too. Economic mobility is terrible. In Metro Atlanta ranks among the worst places where someone can rise from the working poor into the middle class. And housing prices are climbing so fast that families who have lived in neighborhoods and communities for generations are being forced to leave. Rural and urban Georgia both suffer. In many different ways, of course, but also in many similar ways. Tuition is skyrocketing for everyone, and all the while, hope dwindles. Small businesses all across the state don't have access to government contracts and capital like others do. Georgia's minimum wage is a pitiful $5.15 an hour, even lower than the terrible federal minimum wage. Waitress wages are the same as when I waited tables in the late 90s. Wages across the board, whether it's for a skilled job or an entry-level job, are stagnated, and they are not where we need to be, and they're not growing as fast as the cost of living is growing, and it's a huge problem. Our infrastructure is crumbling. You all know that. There's not just transportation problems in Atlanta, Georgia, it's across the state. Metro Atlanta is in desperate need of a regional coordinated mass transit system, and the rest of the state needs to be connected to the capital city through commuter rail. So these are the problems that the political class talks about and chats about on the radio and on the news programs, but these are the problems that we as Georgians all across this state live with. It's not just talk to us. And the problems affect all of us. So maybe it's easy, and maybe it sells some newspapers to oversimplify an urban-rural divide, but accepting that divide splits us as people and splits us as the party, the Democratic Party, that has real solutions that can help everyone on both sides of this supposed divide. So I reject it. I reject the notion that we can't craft policies to help a poor African-American young man trying to be the first in his family to go to college in downtown Atlanta while also helping a grandmother who's raising her grandchildren after her own daughter has died from an opiate overdose up here, and all at the same time also helping the DACA student who just wants a chance to have a better life, to get educated and move into the middle class. We can do all these things. It's not an us versus them situation, or at least it doesn't have to be. Republicans would love for it to be, right? They keep winning because we've allowed them to pit Democrats against each other. So I say enough. Will you say it with me? Enough. Enough. Georgia families, both here and in Atlanta, are being forgotten and taken advantage of because of their zip codes, because of the color of their skin, and the amount of money in their bank account. We have to join together and work on solutions, because opportunity is not just a piece of the American dream, it is the American dream, and it's slipping away from all of us in this state. But it doesn't have to be this way. And I know it doesn't have to be this way because I've seen another way. I've lived another way. I've seen good Democratic policies help all of us. Y'all know, as we've talked about already, that I was born just up the road in Ringgold, Georgia. My mom had me when she was just 17 in a hospital that y'all also know is constantly in fear of closing down because of the state's cruel and immoral decision not to expand Medicaid. My mom never finished high school, and my birth father, who lived in Alabama, was not in my life. And that's where I'm so thankful that Keith Godfrey, Ken's classmate, stepped up, and he was my first stepdad, and he adopted me. And unfortunately, my mom did not stay married to him for very long, but he is still very much a part of my life. And when I was here 2 years ago, some of y'all got a chance to meet him. He came with my grandmother, Nancy. But it was rough for my mom, being a teenage mom, as y'all might imagine, and y'all know neighbors who have gone through this. We struggled. I remember coming home and the lights being turned off. I remember watching my mom sit at the kitchen table and cry because she didn't know how she was going to put food on the table next week. That's hard. I also remember one time when I was 12, one of my not so good stepfathers dragging my mom through the yard and beating her up. It was before school one morning. And I called the police. And the police said that they knew him and that he wouldn't hurt a fly. And then they didn't come. In that moment, I remember feeling so hopeless and so powerless and absolutely disgusted that the people that were supposed to protect us refused to do so. And I know in that moment, even as a child, I realized how much it matters who's in power. Now, fortunately, not too long after what was a low point in my feelings of hopelessness, one of my favorite teachers told me that Governor Miller was coming to my school to tell us about a new program in Georgia called Hope. Little did I know what a game changer that encounter would be. When the governor came, he explained Hope to us. There were two separate but equally important parts of Hope as it was created. First, every Georgian, every single one of them, no matter what the GPA, would have the opportunity to get up to 2 years of college free at a technical college in this state. And second, for students who could maintain a B average, you could have tuition-free college at any of Georgia's public colleges or universities. Hope saved me. It got me to the University of Georgia, the first in my family to go there. Now, I'll tell you this little aside, I only applied to one school. I didn't know you were supposed to pick a safety school. So thank goodness it worked out. But it saved me. That scholarship gave me hope in the broader sense of the word. It got me to college, again, the first in my family to go there. I stayed there and went to law school, which is where I met my husband, Andrew, which led to our beautiful daughter, Ashley, who's now 5 and keeps me and Andrew entertained all the time. If you've never started your morning with a dance party to Bruno Mars, a little Taylor Swift, a little Beyonce, you're missing out. And that's what we do in our house every morning. It's quite wonderful. I won't share those dance moves with you. She's much better than me. But it led to my family. It led to a great career as a lawyer and to a chance to serve in the legislature, where for 7 years I've had the honor of helping Georgians who, just like me, needed just a little bit of help to help themselves. Now, the Hope Scholarship, we all know about it. It was the crowning achievement of another North Georgia Democrat. And it's not just changed my life, but millions of other Georgians. And y'all, that happened in the 1990s. 1990s. The program offered tuition-free college long before such an idea was mainstream, and decades before it became the rallying cry of progressives that it is today. But that's the magic of our home here in Georgia. We did that before anyone else. Georgia is a place where progressive policies have won out and changed lives, where we have worked together to bring progress for all of us. And we have to get back there. We cannot let divisions tear us apart. And that's why I believe that it is hope, not just the scholarship, but hope in the larger sense that it is the Democratic Party's way forward. And that's why I'm running for governor. I'm running to bring hope and opportunity to all Georgia families. Hope that technical college will once again be tuition-free in this state, period. It used to be this way. It was wrong for it to change, and we need to get it back. It's the right thing for families. It's the right thing for our economy. Hope that hard work will get you to a good paying job that pays you a livable wage, and that you'll have the ability to climb up the ladder and have more job success. Hope that we're all going to be able to see a doctor when we're sick. These shouldn't be hard things, y'all, right? Hope that no matter where you live, you're going to feel good every morning when you drop your child off for elementary school. And you're going to have access to pre-K for your children starting at age 2. And hope that we are all created equal, and that our government is not going to allow us to be treated otherwise. Not on the streets, not in a courtroom, not in the workplace, not any place. This is a message that binds us. And let me tell you, it terrifies Republicans. It terrifies them. Because they know, just like we know, that for all of our differences, at the end of the day, when we all go to bed at night and we're worried about things, for the most part, we're worried about the same things. And our job as Democrats is to make sure that families know that we understand their concerns and that we will address them. Specifically, our job, it's straightforward. Our job as Democrats is to make sure that families know that if they vote for Democrats, they're going to be able to find a good job to support their families. They need to know that if they vote for Democrats, we're going to work to make sure that entrepreneurs all across the state have incentives to build sustainable business, and not just Fortune 500 companies in Atlanta. They need to know that if they vote for Democrats, our infrastructure is going to get the attention it needs. It matters how many lanes are on a highway. It matters if we have commuter rail from here to Macon and to Chattanooga and to Athens and to Albany and Savannah and Augusta. It matters. They need to know that if they vote for Democrats, a business owned by an African American or a Latino will have the ability to compete fairly for state contracts and capital. And if they vote for Democrats, our state agencies and our boards will reflect the diversity of this state, and they will not be, as they are mainly now, a little stale, a little pale, and a little male, right? It is time for change. We have to carry this message. Our job, it's not their fault if they don't get it. It's our job as Democrats to make sure that families know that if they vote for Democrats, student debt will decrease because hope will be strong again, and we're going to make college affordable once again. They need to know that if they vote for Democrats, they're not going to get priced out of their homes because we're going to work on affordable housing and we're going to make it a priority. They need to know that if they vote for Democrats, they're going to be able to see a doctor when they get sick, and they're going to have coverage because we're going to expand Medicaid. ACA is the law of the land, right? Last time I checked, those votes are not working out. We're going to cover more Georgians because we're going to expand Medicaid, and we're also going to end this terrible practice in this state where businesses, employers misclassify their workers as independent contractors when they're really employees to avoid offering benefits. And oh, by the way, we lose a lot of tax money when that happens as well. We've got to let folks that this is what's going to change when they vote for Democrats. Our job is to let folks know that if you vote for Democrats, your schools are going to be high quality again because we're going to fund them. That's rocket science. We're going to fund them. And we're going to lower class sizes. And we're going to put counselors in the classrooms to help teachers make sure that we have all the interventions that we need to make sure that all children are learning where they are. And we're going to pay teachers a salary that matches the role, the vital role that they play in our children's lives. We make a difference. I'm a living testament to that. Our job as Democrats is to make sure that families know if they vote for Democrats, pre-K will be a priority, and that we're all going to be safe and secure no matter where we roam in this state, and that our police are going to be qualified, they're going to be trained, and they're going to be paid well. We've got to let folks know that this is what happens when you vote for a Democrat. And we can do this, y'all. We've done it before. Spreading a message of hope and opportunity is a tried and true Democratic strategy to win, not just here in Georgia, but across the country. Hope is a magical word, and it means so much to me personally, and I know to all of us here. If Georgians vote for a Democrat, hope and opportunity will once again be on the menu for all Georgians. So, keep going. Tell your neighbors and your friends that we don't have to buy into a national narrative of us versus them. Tell them that we can work together on the issues that plague all of us. Remind them that we've done it before, and it wasn't really that long ago. You want to scare Donald Trump? Casey Cagle? You want to beat him? I don't want to just scare him. I want to beat him. How about you? That's how we do it. That's how we do it. And that's how we have to do it. So let's do it, y'all, and let's win again.